finally have somebody who has hauled cars.
Okay, I was programmed to think the industry was shit. Every broker has a horror story. I had never even made a paycheck. I was already replacing engines.
Yeah. Who is the bigger player here? Is it the companies? Is it the government?
People now, even more now than ever. It's me, mine. There was no job that could pay me what I was doing.
All I've seen is drivers suffer. Whether they suffer because of bad planning, they suffer because of bad equipment, economy, they suffer because of regulations and laws.
I spent all my time in those trucks. All my time. That's all I did. Trucking has given me the best opportunity to be isolated on earth.
Drugs a big problem in trucking?
Absolutely. And I know from experience, I hid it not only from my family, I hid it from the bosses, I hid it from myself. I was way too prideful.
Unseen Power did not want you to buy a truck.
Unseen Powers did not want me to buy this dang truck. Everything went. The pumps, hydraulic pumps, transmission, everything was rebuilt. Bro, that truck did not go to work for over a year. There's a lack of education that goes into this with ignorance and stupidity and like just disrespect for one another. There comes a point where you're just fed up with the people flipping you off, man. There's no more faith in humanity.
So I just need 30 seconds of your time for two things. One, I want to thank everybody who watches the show and has subscribed to our channel. It does help us a lot. It's a free thing to do to subscribe or like our show, but it does help us a lot on our end. Secondly, if you have not done so far, please join the 31% of the people that come regularly to watch this show. And if you enjoy the show and you tell us that you enjoy the show, this is going to make us even do better. We do this show for the love of trucks and trucking, and we genuinely feel truckers and overall trucking industry needs a lot of attention. And we do this on our own. There is nobody involved in this show. And if you help us, we don't need anybody. And we want to thank you once again for watching and just supporting us in this journey. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah. So my writing is not cursive, but what I write, nobody else can read.
Right.
Sometimes I can't read it too. But then my son thinks that it is cursive. And he's always, Dad, where you learned it from? I was like, brother, you want to learn?
Man, I started teaching him at a very young age.
Oh, yourself? It's not the school that teaches it?
It is a school. They brought it back.
Oh.
Well, so I gotta say, my son's in a private Christian school.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
It's it's
a probably different,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he's whipping butt. Mm-hmm. I'm really liking it.
Are you Christian, practical Christian?
Well, I'm not religious. Mm-hmm. I believe in my faith. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I follow Christ.
Because truck drivers are very religious sometimes, and that's one topic we haven't touched upon yet.
Well, you got the right guy.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because the prayers in the morning on the CB, they oh, bro, it's a real thing. Like every truck stop you go to, turn the CB on, there's at least one prayer going on.
Now, if you think that trailer in a corner is for lot lizards, it's not. It's actually a prayer chamber.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's for real. All across the states, the South, Georgia, whatever, Carolinas, they always have like a prayer trailer or a confession booth or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And truck drivers they have very big faith. Like they have the faith.
They have to.
Or they're always facing things, right?
Yeah, man.
They're facing things.
So there's a story that's a big majority or a big part of my life structure. And I grew up in a Catholic home. Mm-hmm. Very broken, mm-hmm. Violence, essays, like all that kind of stuff. So, I shunned away from it. I refused even, Christmas, Easter churches, mm-hmm. whatever. I just always felt deception through it, right? But it's because man created church, right? Man created the building. Yeah. Governments take control of it. It's a system that I just don't believe in. So, yeah, I just turned within. Mm-hmm. And that's a story for in itself, right? But I don't preach like what you see. One thing I'll say is if it's starting to feel way too complex, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's the enemy trying to teach you.
True. Yeah, that's
you got to go within. The first rule in my business and in my life has been Matthew 6:33. Mm-hmm. Seek ye first, mm-hmm. and then all its righteousness will come unto you. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's that right there. Like, what do you do? What do you mean seek ye first? Like, Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is inside you. Nobody preaches this. Nobody teaches you this. You got to go inside. You don't go outside to find your truth. You go inside. Right? So that was a big change for me. But,
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Jeannot.
Jeannot.
Do you want to pull out the sound J or Y?
Jeannot, comme dit
Jeannot.
Yeah.
Jeannot.
Yeah.
Do I have it right?
Yeah.
Jeannot.
Jeannot.
I have it written down.
Phonetic or write it phonetic?
No, I wrote it in Arabic.
And that works too.
Just for the sound purposes, because English have multiple sounds, Arabic doesn't. So, yeah.
My really good friend is married to an Arabic woman.
Yeah.
Just great values, great party,
A lot of
great food.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Most insane wedding I ever been to.
Yes, it's big.
Like I didn't know when it was gonna stop. Not that I wanted it to stop. It was just like very.
Yeah. Today we are joined by Jeannot, who has done trucking for 20 some years, and he was in car hauling for the most part. And this brings this show to a point where we finally have somebody who has hauled cars. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Tell us, what have you done in trucking, and how has that trucking journey been?
Such a wide question. Well, I started trucking when I was like I was telling you, 9 years old. I grew up in it, so I was falling asleep in bunks, right away from birth. And if anybody's ever slept in a bunk, it's the best sleep you'll ever have. And I think that's where you get caught up.
Yeah.
You get caught up in a truck right from that vibration. Yeah. But yeah, I started when I was 18, started doing flat deck for construction companies like DZ. And I moved up to my A at 21, and I was doing flat decking locally up until car hauling. So I was in specialized divisions doing crane. I have a crane certificate, the piggyback, Moffats, B-train, a little bit of tanker, but mainly flat deck, hydraulic dumps, multi-axles, heavy haul, gooseneck, drops, beaver tails, that kind of stuff. Really
was
cool
it mainly
stuff.
around here in the GTA area?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm actually really proud to say that I've seen a lot of downtown core get built, That's where you learn your stripes. Driving through that stuff, But yeah, no, with the company I was working for back in 09, 08, they sold to another company. I took a payout, and a good buddy of mine till this day, he's like, "Hey man, you're a car guy. You should go car hauling. Come join me." I said, "Okay." And, the rest is history on that.
What's your personal favorite in terms of hauling?
It has to be cars.
Cars?
Yeah. It's a love-hate relationship with that, man. Yeah.
So tell us about it. Are you responsible for every single car to get on and get off kind of thing?
Yeah. Now, as a driver, you get some leeway, right? Like and I'm speaking from damage point. That kind of stuff. The responsibility is still fully yours. Unloading, loading, strapping. When I started, we were still hard tying like chains on the frames and whatever. And that all the manufacturers changed that rule. Probably around the mid 15s, something like that. But yeah, it's all you. It's all you. Height measurements, width, all that, man. Yeah.
Now they strap the tires, right?
They strap the tires. Like those guys will still use the straps, the hard tie to get the heights down and stuff. There's a lot of tricks. And those trailers are really intricate, right? You got various applications and various styles for trucks, vans, and whatnot. So
just the other day, I'm driving and I see one of the car haulers, and I'm thinking, how do these things stay up there? Because like people who do not know, it just looks like they're just parked there, but they're actually not parked. Of course they're tied. I know there's a truck driver too. But it almost looks magical the way that the trailer is designed and then the way handle it, right?
Yeah. And you wouldn't even know anything's back there. Yeah. You got a good tie, a good load, well-balanced load, and it drives even better than an empty truck.
So on the 401, sometimes I've seen, not sometimes, a lot of the time I've seen people bringing loads from East Coast, the car loads. And usually it's the the Europeans' cars, right? Brand new with stickers on it and wraps and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
And I look at them and there's what, 15, 20 of them, right? And then you're like, this is probably the most expensive load on the road right now because one of them is more than $100,000. And then you multiply that with 15, 20 pieces, whatever there are, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
big
well,
responsibility.
Chevy, the Corvettes, they're now getting wrapped.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're supercar status now.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I know exactly the ports of that you're describing out
Mhm.
east. It's quite a mess out there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's right by the ocean. You can see everything. And I say messy because right away I thought winter months because nobody wants to go there in the winter months.
Mhm.
It's cold, But it's well organized. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, you have to unwrap the door and properly roll up the thing so you don't scratch the paint and whatever. Like everything's on you. You have to obviously do the inspections on everything and make sure it arrives at your destination in the same condition that you picked it up in. And dealers are ruthless. They'll find whatever, even if they do it. If you don't get so many times, and this is just my personal experience, if you don't mark everything, even if it's not there, and the dealer guy, the checker, he will take a casual look around, whatever, but then he'll bang a curb trying to get it he'll mark it on you. So that's happened.
So what happens then? So let's say I'm the dealer. You brought a load to me, and let's say whatever. There's a scratch on the car. It's a brand new car, and then it doesn't matter. Like whether I say it's you or whoever, but the point is scratch is there. Now who's paying for that? Insurance?
So now that all depends. That all depends on the gravity of the damage, and we can go driver or broker. Those are two different parameters as well. Driver, company takes a hit, and you obviously get a write up or whatever the exemplary notion is, But yeah, so if there is damages, if it's not on the inspection report, they're right away up your alley for it. So the companies will pay that. Now, if you find damage or if a chain or a hook falls or whatever before you get to your destination, we're at the free liberty to get that car repaired before anybody even knows. So then you don't go through insurance, you don't get claims or whatever. But that's like an industry secret. There's a lot of cars, and it's happened to all of us. Just the bar sliding off the trailer because you just left it there or whatever, hits a car. It causes a scratch. These cars are Tupperware and tin cans now, right? And so that's on us.
So we got a lot of dealerships just around the corner here.
Oh, yeah.
And every time there's a load, and then doesn't matter where they come from, they would park in the center of the road because their yards are not designed to get the truck in. They would park in the center in the turn lanes. That's what they call them these days. In the center so basically there's traffic on each side and the truck is parked in the center. And the driver would actually go each time on the trailer to get one car, get it done, put it in the yard, and then walk back up to the trailer and then grab the next one. And so I've seen these deliveries happening, and every time they're doing it, and this is 60 kilometers per hour road.
Yeah.
I was like, this has got to be challenging.
You get over it quick.
I know.
Yeah.
And then, nowadays, everybody's in a rush and a hurry, and then nobody's showing some respect. Be like,
None.
Come on, give this guy a chance. He's working, and he's struggling to get these cars off the trailer, but people just want to go, right? So they don't show any respect. So, I salute these guys that are doing it, the car haulers, right?
Doesn't matter what freight you got on. You're just in the way. Like, people don't understand that these roads have been designed specifically for transportation. This is this is my world, right? It's our world. These roads are for your benefit, and the fact that I had major road rage in my first 10-year tenure.
You had road rage?
Oh yeah, because I was all about respect, egotistical and everything, right? Like, I demand it, but it doesn't work that way. But I cooled down. I slowed down.
Here's the point. It's me who always thought every time there's a big snowstorm and roads are being plowed, they're not being plowed for an average person. They are being plowed so they can keep the economy going.
That's right.
So yet you say all of this big infrastructure you see, yes, the an average person gets to use it, but in reality, it is being designed so we can make our economy better. So we can move more goods and, generate more profits and whatnot. And every time there's a little tiny road that's being built, there's like thousands of studies behind it. Be like how much money is going to save, how much money is going to bring in, what routes is going to encourage people to go on and stuff like that. So the point is, all the infrastructure that an average person enjoys is because of
us.
Transportation, right? Yeah.
Well, anything in this room has been transported by a truck.
True.
Right? And every building that's built and whatever. So, and like I've had the luxury of hauling lumber, steel, building materials, like everything, even like decking and summer and landscaping and whatever. I've seen it all in residential, bringing 48 footers in residential with a piggyback, snaking through cars. And I'm talking downtown, East End, like everywhere around here, so it's definitely a challenge. You got to know your width perceptions, your depth perceptions, your speed perceptions, everything like that. And that just comes with experience, right?
So you are, I want to touch upon the road rage point, but I'll hold it for now. I just took a note here. So I wanted to bring you back to so you came from a trucking family too.
Yeah.
So you're the second generation. So your father was a truck driver too.
Yeah.
Right. How is this being raised by a truck driver dad?
Wow.
It's my favorite question to ask because people do not know what happens in the households, right?
Well, and you know what? I've scripted myself for this, like not knowing what the questions will pertain, but I've prepared myself. And I had to bring this up because we all remember Happy Gilmore, the movie, right? So he's a certain type of person. He's taking care of his grandma, da-da-da-da. But Happy Gilmore 2, you saw it?
I have not.
So he ends up going through the exact situation that he helped his grandma go through. And that is like not only programming, television, that happens in all our lives. So I say that because I was raised by a truck driver that was never home, and old school baby boomer, like we had a one income household. My mom had a temporary government job or whatever. It was during tax season and whatnot. But the main source was my dad's efforts, right? And he was a very strong worker, a very hard worker. He had the best equipment. And in my eyes, he always said, your name and your word is your strictest bond, right? So that outside visual of him, phenomenal. Great guy, great worker, like I said. Being raised by him, I was the little boy, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, watching him leave and never knowing when he came back. Hopefully it was Friday. Most of the time was Saturday. Most of it, I didn't know. But all that week, that's all I wanted was my dad. And naturally, I loved driving. So we had toys, dirt bikes, snowmobiles, whatever. And I grew up in that side of things with my mom's family. So anything with an engine, I loved. But the thrill of playing with toys, or you're a 5-year-old playing with Tonkas and whatever, in construction and trucking and whatever. So that's what it was. But that broke the family down. So I say the Happy Gilmore and whatever. In 1994, my dad suffered an accident, head-on collision. 2 guys from the Royal Canadian Armed Forces, 2 fighter pilots, hammered New Year's Eve, hit my dad head-on at 165. So his
dad is in a truck.
Yeah.
And they're in
a car, Subaru station wagon, whatever, just enjoying life, right? So whatever the case may be, my dad's he obviously very, very much so a critical thinker. Got all my skill from him. He swerved, and I was 8 years old when he was explaining this to me, but he swerved, and whatever he did saved their lives. Because naturally, if it was actually head on, because he kind of swerved, and anyway, that in my mind, was the situation that destroyed our family. And so, the truck was in repairs. Like what, you blow a head gasket in a truck, you blow a main, you blow whatever.
Yeah, you got
It's
a new
downtime.
Yeah,
It's not just the repairman. It's finding the guy to repair it, finding the funds if you don't have them. What do you do for downtime? Having your cushion, all this kind of stuff. So my dad ended up being at home, in my mind, like I think a year or so. Yeah, that's tough times. The entire truck, because he had such beautiful, well-maintained equipment, he was not writing it off. So I remember him fighting like, no. This is the condition my truck was in. This is how I'm getting it back. And he owned his trailer as well. They were both in two separate parts of the province getting repaired. I believe his truck was in Quebec or whatever. Anyway, so as a little boy, that's what I saw. The arguments happening and everything like that.
Hang
It
on a
was all
second. So you
financial.
use the word that destroyed the family.
Yeah.
So this incident happens. Your dad, in order to save somebody's life, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he did, right?
Yep.
Save
Yep.
somebody's life. He sacrifices his truck. And I can tell you as a driver, I have done that. Well, yes, I didn't go in the ditch, but I personally have done too many dangerous things to save somebody else's life.
Absolutely.
And you know that as a truck driver too.
Yep.
Sometimes people leave you with no options, and then you're like, whether I hit you or I get off the road, or like do some damage to the equipment. I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
I can't even tell how many times. So you said that one incident where somebody else I think it's a very it's a big sacrifice, right? Because you do understand that your hit is going to take somebody's life. You end up sacrificing your equipment. You use the word, it destroyed the family. Explain me, how does that destruction look like?
Thank you for asking that. Because nonetheless, the argument with the governments and whatever, no lawyer wanted to take his case. Nobody fought for my dad. That was absolutely despicable to me. I don't care what stripe you're wearing, where you come from, whatever. You are driving drunk. They were let free. They missed court dates because of, no, we need them here, we need them there. Unheard of. Like, why are they getting special treatment? Because if you and I hit somebody head on drunk, what happens to us? Especially a trucker. I mean, you don't survive. So I say that because the fight was ongoing. The monies weren't there. The restitutions didn't come. He brought back just enough to get back into the truck and keep going. That wasn't right. So in the meantime, all this arguing and fighting, that came into our home. And then, like, whether the arguments are there or arguments and whatnot were there before this incident was a pinnacle to my structure. And so, shortly, this is 94, 97, my parents were divorced. My dad was always gone, always chasing that mighty dollar, and he did well.
Let me put this in perspective. So you said this happened in 94, and then things got bad because, of course, it was a financial pressure, I assume, right? And the love of truck.
My father's a great man, but the mighty dollar wins. Everything else comes second. And whether it was to secure his retirement, secure his future, the mighty dollar and his name is what we were raised on believing was the most important. Right?
And how many siblings you guys are?
Just me and a brother.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in 96, you said the family's...
97, I forced my mom to move out. Like she was a really good woman. And I say was because she passed away already. But so it was just a lot of manipulation, a lot of bad stuff, I guess, But then I'm bringing up this Happy Gilmore thing. And it's because I never wanted to be on the road, over the road trucker. I was fine with sleeping at home every day.
In the first place, why would you even get the truck license if you had this sort of? So no, I'm not asking. I'm not saying you shouldn't have done it. That's another perspective we bring in this show is why should we get everybody in trucking? Like not everybody, but I mean we should get good people in trucking. That's not to that point. What I'm trying to say is, you see I'm just going to use a metaphor here. So you see fire, or you live through a fire,
Mhm.
and then you basically burn your own fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so like,
Yeah.
why? Like, you had no other options? You could have not done anything else?
Well, that's the funny part, because when I got my truck license, I was going to get my heavy equipment,
Mhm.
and I did it. I got both, and I was like, hey, you know what? I like playing with toys. I'm gonna run an excavator or a bulldozer or whatever. So you finish the school, you think you're a professional now, like we were discussing. You're not. Nobody cares about a ticket in your pocket. You need experience. And how do you get experience when you have none? It's all word of mouth. It's all who you know. And growing up where I grew up, everybody freaking knew each other.
Mhm.
So my daddy got me my first job. It was a small company up north. I started literally doing garbage trucks. I was the slinger, and then I got into delivering groceries on the weekends, because the garbage job was 3 days a week, and you got paid a certain amount, and then whatever you'd fill in anything, like
Mhm.
delivering bread mostly.
Mhm.
So I was running Highway 69, whatever, from
So you never processed that what happened to your family as growing up, you could happen to your family, the
I
ones you're gonna
didn't,
make?
yeah, I didn't get there yet, right? So when I was in school, to get my license, I was also delivering pizza and other things. I got into the hustle. I was really enjoying it, and quite frankly, I was making a killing at it. Back then, in 2001, 2002, delivering pizza, I was making over $1,000 a week. Delivering pizza, and this is all cash money. And I was always, like my mom's side of the family, innovative, risk taker, whatever. I just wanted to keep the hustle going, whatever it was I was selling at that time. The money was good, but I got tag team by my mom and my dad, even though they weren't together at the time. They were both like, well, you got your license now, like clean money, dirty hands, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, so I ended up getting that first job. And it was like, I didn't want to, especially doing what I was doing. But I had just graduated, I just had the license or whatever, so I got into it. Um, so from that point, long story short or whatever, met a girl. Her dad owned the company, worked for her dad for a bunch. Me and her dad working in Thunder Bay. She was cheating, got pregnant, blah, blah, blah. Then I ended back up in Kitchener. Right. So this was like 22. And then I started doing construction materials down here and whatever. So it was always the easiest plan B. It was in my blood. Like I grew up in it. It was like I didn't even have to concentrate, even though learning my stripe was hard.
Mhm.
Because no matter what you get into, you don't just grow up and I'm the best. Like it just doesn't happen like that. But it was everything I knew,
Mhm.
right? Aside from the other part of my family, right?
Mhm.
No.
So so you so your family paid a big price,
Yeah, man.
and it is because of trucking?
Well, my dad was never there to defend himself,
Yeah, well,
right? So I was always deemed like you're a POS like your dad, sorry, mom, you're not here to defend yourself, but she chastised my dad every chance she could because she was broken. My dad, you could not communicate with him, and if you did, you better make sure it's the right words because it's gonna snap. So like, where did I get my small temper, right? Nonetheless, this day right now, I'm absolutely proud of my father, but that's because I changed and I reconciled with him. But yeah, that was the majority of my programming was through my mom. See, my dad was never around, so um,
so trucking families,
yeah,
they suffer a lot, and I've seen too many
yeah,
myself. But people do not know about these families at all.
Nope.
Like people just don't understand the fundamental problem, which you just highlighted,
Yep.
was communication. When there is no communications,
yeah, man,
two humans can work together,
right.
right? Why do people not know about this? Why do people just believe that all of these things in the stores and the buildings just grow here?
Mhm.
Why don't people understand there's somebody behind the scene making such a massive sacrifice in their personal life, in their health, whole bunch of different stuff.
Yep.
Yet people disrespect them and do not know anything about them. Why?
Because it's the service industry. People now, even more now than ever, it's me, mine. Right? I feel like, look how people treat Amazon drivers, and look how Amazon pays their drivers. Look how they're like they're in the news all over the place now. They're like, well, we're gonna replace this with automation. Yo, man, it's people and souls that run this structure, not machines, right? But it's always with the mighty dollar involved. And that's just it. The bigger the company grows, the less factual evidence a person can distribute. It's always numbers, man. I feel like going back to the Happy Gilmore thing, right? Because like Happy Gilmore 2, he now relives everything he was programmed with, all the efforts. Now he has kids, he has a struggle and whatever. And why I say that is because when my first was born, I was like, we were heavily invested in shares, whatever, doing real good, got a new home. Life was beautiful. And like now my wife and I, my now wife, we moved to a small town outside of Ottawa. And there was no jobs that could pay me what I was worth.
Mhm.
You know, like I would take interviews and they'd be like, you're overqualified. We can't pay you more than this. I'm like, well, I'm not taking a job.
No, are these trucking jobs?
Yeah. But there were like bread boxes and whatever. And at that point, my first was born. I'm like, yo, I'm not going back on the highway. The entire struggle from 2012, my mom's passing, I promised her I won't be like my dad. I didn't know what that meant. You know, I'm just going to be better regardless. And 2014, I was telling her, I'm like, don't worry about no grandkids or wife. I'm never going to get married. And anybody that knows me are probably still shocked that I'm married with 2 kids. And I love that because I didn't see it coming. 2014, I met the love. Love at first sight does exist, you know? But anyway, so 2017, I couldn't find work. And I wasn't belittling what I so-called, not good enough, right? I had a big ego back then. And so I'm like, you know what, man? I talked to my wife. I'm like, I'm going to go back to car hauling. You know, I'm like, she's like, well, you're never going to be home. Blah, blah. Yeah, but this time it's different. I'm going to buy a truck. Wow.
That's a bigger trap.
Bigger trap. You know what? I even said, I'm like, my daddy was able to do it. I'm just going to do it better. And I was maintaining proper communication with all my circles, with anyone, except for the bosses, right? I was a guy, like, I'm always happy. I'm always, yes, sir, whatever. If he said, I get the job done, doesn't matter if I'm pissed off. And my wife would know, right? You're talking on the phone, like, he's got me switching lows, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a very, very usual thing in the industry. So I buy this truck. And I got curbsided, not knowing. But I had already had experience with the same truck, same engines, same trailer, same everything. Beautifully painted pig is what it was. But there was nothing on the market. Nothing. I couldn't find no truck and trailer. In car hauling, you don't buy a truck and then you go out and somewhere and buy a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
They come together. Yeah. I find this truck. All right, cool. Dabbling with this person back and forth for probably 2-3 weeks a month. And knowing then or after, I could have just went and bought a new truck. But I had some birdies on my shoulders saying, no. Buy a used truck, real cheap, pay it off quick. You're going to make it off. You're going to be better off. Okay, so I get this truck, I get involved, I change all the tires, do whatever, the brakes. And meanwhile, I'm still waiting for the financing to go through. So I'm already putting work into this truck, getting it ready. And it's now January, it's super cold. And that there's a point to this story, right? We finally get the truck paid. Truck's running, idling, everything, the temperatures are good, pressure's good, everything like that. Take off 5 minutes, head was blown. Right away. Like I had this truck for 5 minutes. The head was blown. I'm like, man, I'm going to break some legs at this point. So I whipped this truck around, and as God is my witness, this guy never showed his face ever since. The person who sold me this truck.
It's gone.
Off the face of the earth. I've seen his other equipments at en routes and whatever, and I was standing by their trucks for 45 minutes. And it wasn't just the head. The head was just a head start. Yeah. So $45,000 later, get that truck fixed. I wanted the refund. That's not happening. There's no consumer rights in commercial. Come on, like you bought this truck. I had hired an evaluation company to come take a look at this entire thing and inspect it. $1,100 US. They deemed it ready to go to work. No oil analysis, no anything like that, right? Like how come? We couldn't open the hood, they said. So everything, like nonetheless, I'm not pointing fingers. This is all me. I made the decisions, right? And that's the thing. I was already committed. I'm like, I'm buying the truck. Doesn't matter. Birdie's on my shoulders. Doesn't matter what happens, man. We got it. You know how this industry is. I said, I know. I wasn't ready for this one, though. So the day I pick up the truck at the engine place, which is a reputable Caterpillar facility, $45,000 later, I'm driving it to go get safety now because the truck's ready. Blew the transmission apart.
What?
Right in Scarborough, right on the highway.
Unseen power did not want you to buy a truck.
Unseen powers did not want me to buy this dang truck, dude. Any truck for that matter. Like right away. So you think that's it? No, it's not it. Oh, everything went. The pumps, hydraulic pumps, transmission, everything was rebuilt. Bro, that truck did not go to work for over a year. $220,000 out of a broke man's pocket. And I say broke, like we had all our shares, all our investments, everything diminished. Now, could you tell me I got any help? No, nobody wants to help a commercial driver. There was no help, dude. Like, and I'm talking like lawyers and whatever. I finally got wind of the guy who sold me the truck. And the gentleman I bought it from, it was his father. You know what he did? He transferred me $1,000 and said, sorry, you're going through what you're going through. And I screenshot that stuff and I kept it because it was like, you knew. It wasn't just the engine. All right. The transmission went. Then so illegally, I had to go to work at some point. You know what I mean? Like I had to make money. This truck, I got a fake safety because that stuff's still happening.
Oh, you got to fix it.
I had to.
Can I know
I can't afford it. You know what I mean? I'm already 100-some thousand. The 220 came later, like in total. But already an engine, a transmission is my first truck that never went to work. And so now I take a trip to go to Alberta. I'm like
And you have kids at this point?
I have my one.
One kid.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it was $700 I paid for a fake safety. Let's go, bud. Giddy up and go, right? Dude, the mainframe on the trailer snapped mid-route. Yeah, coming back from between Nipigon and Thunder Bay. So, like, now on the way back? Yeah. Well, shoot. Trailer's dragging on the ground all the way home. Bro, now I had to go buy a trailer. What? So, like, I'm not even... So
as a broker, you only need one.
Yeah. Not even,
1.5.
I say I got a horror story, right? Every broker has a horror story.
Oh, they are.
Mine never. I had never even made a paycheck. I was already replacing engines, and not to point fingers. All my decisions made by me. But so the Happy Gilmore thing, I was trained. Okay, I was programmed to think the industry was shit. Just right out the get-go, man. Money don't grow on trees. Trucks always break. You got to eat steak. You know what I mean? Like we're not living lavishly, whatever. It's just put the money away.
No, but like, so I want to expand on this point.
Yeah.
So the industry is shit. Of course, there's a lot of people that come here that don't have this opinion, right?
Yeah.
So we all humans, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I understand why you say industry is shit, but I want to know why industry is shit.
All right.
Who is the bigger player here? Is it the companies? Is it the government? Because all I've seen is drivers suffer.
Yeah.
Whether they suffer because of bad planning, they suffer because of bad equipment, they suffer because of economy, they suffer because of regulations and laws. I am sitting here to represent drivers.
Yep.
Or just to sort of, bring their issues out.
Mhm.
Who is responsible to make this industry shit?
Oneself. I'm responsible for deciding what makes me happy. And I had not had the opportunity to even give myself the chance to be happy in the trucking industry. It's all me.
Explain to me that. Like, what do you mean by being happy?
Well, at this point, owning my first truck, I had a beautiful wife and I wanted to be the father I never had. All I ever knew was trucking. So I could not see, without having made this decision, after all this was happened, like the first month, dude, I was in tears every day. I didn't know what to do. I didn't all I had was my financial resources and my wife's family to help me out and support. Right. And my father, like till this day, he's like, if you would have just listened to me and not buy this truck. I'm like, what good is that? I had my own challenges, my own darkness to overcome. And I thought this is what I was going to overcome it with, right? So what made it shit is my lack of belief that it could have actually been good for me. And right away, like where the mind goes, body follows. And I got it the day I bought it, So, and that's my entire life structure, my personal business. That's what it's about. It's about the beliefs that we carry and the past that we identify with, when it's as simple as choosing to rewrite that past, because our past only live in our minds. But why carry it negatively? Rewrite it. Doesn't matter what that person knows, what that person says. They are already carrying their own baggage.
Mm-hmm.
So why associate with it? Why identify with it?
Mm-hmm.
That goes with trucking. That's a big part of my identity.
Mm-hmm. If somebody come up to you right now and said, hey, I want to get into trucking, what would you tell them?
I would say plan properly. I would ask him to come over and have a weekend chat, right? Because you said it, you hit it right on the nail. I was prepared financially. I wasn't prepared logistically. I knew the industry at that point. I knew who I wanted to work with. I didn't know the ins and outs of these companies, right? So I say the driver struggles, so do the companies. So do the companies, man. They're getting their next cut on every load. They're getting everything. So what saved me from this truck is a specific company and a very God-fearing guy. And when I said, I just put a smile on and did yes and did the loads and said yes and whatever. And 1 month before my marriage, I gave it all up because I had already made my wife some promises that I wasn't going to sleep away another day. And I kept that promise till this
And how
day.
did your wife know that truck drivers do this? Does she come from a trucking family?
No.
You had communicated to her?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't come from a trucking family, you don't understand what does it mean by going away.
Right. So her ex, how I met my wife was through a car hauler, and they were already having problems, but I was with somebody else. She was with this guy. We were hanging out. They split up. Months later, I seen her on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, she lives down the street from me. Wow. And then the rest is history on that one. So she had, and nonetheless, this gentleman was not infused in the same beliefs of trucking. He was a local guy working for a local company, home every day and whatever. So her knowledge was just what she had seen from him.
Mm-hmm.
Her demise is everything she saw from me. Because I had darkness. There was some darkness there, whether it was from trucking or not, highly doubt it. However, these darknesses could have come to light if presence was there. And that's just what was missing in my childhood home, right? So
just from here, at this point, when you look at your life, what you have lived so far as a child and now as a father,
yeah,
and positive or negative, whatever you have gone through, what do you have to tell an average consumer? The kind of things you have gone through, positive or negative, that these sacrifices were made for consumers to get the products on the shelves. How would you tell them, like, look, Like, what is your message?
It strikes me very often to enunciate properly what truckers go through. I'll be like walking through a parking lot, a truck is there, and this is just an example. People are honking the horn. I'll very much so voice my opinion, right? Like just to let people know of the knowledge and the skill required to maneuver these things and to get the shipments on time. That's the end of the day goal, right? To get it there safe, get it there on time. You get it on time, it's bonus, right? So what do I tell the consumer? There's a lack of education that goes into this. This should be a part of the curriculum for people to learn how the economy works, right? Because like, I kid you not, people, I was delivering cars at a dealer and people are honking a horn at me. Coming into the dealer, dude, what do you think I'm doing? Like they literally think the cars are made in the back, right? And and same as the grocery store, the meat is not cut in the back. Like, well, some of it is, but the cows don't live there. You know what I mean? Like, where do you think all this stuff comes from? It's a complete blinded part of their life. They don't have to rely on it or whatever. They go to the store, they get it. Now, even less. They look on their phones, shows up at their door. They have no clue how it's even made, how it's even sent, distributed. Like we can get stuff from BC in 3 days now. Right? How is that possible? That's because of efficiency.
Like getting this stuff on a daily basis, and you did mention the delivery guys that bring the stuff to your door now. How could we so selfish as a human? Not thinking where does it come from?
That and like how we've become so selfish, right? What gave us the authority to just think for ourselves? That's a big problem too. Like there's not a day, and I don't like spending time on Facebook unless it's for my business or whatever, but there's not a day I go on there and the comments are filled with ignorance and stupidity and like just disrespect for one another. And now I'm a big bike guy. Bike, motorcycles, dirt bikes, everything. I have some, like I love it. I'm even in like the GTA motorcycle feed and everybody's stabbing each other in there. Like, where's the brotherhood, man? Where's the love? Like, if I'm going to be bringing you your steak, say thanks, man. So like, is it that bad that we have to actually put it in a curriculum and be like, this truck is deserving to be on this road because you need underwear? Like, this doesn't make no sense. Where I think it all comes down to parenting too. Teach your kids, teach your kids to appreciate the garbage man, just like the CEO. Yeah. They all deserve the same amount of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the point you brought earlier. It is road rage. And you said you were an angry truck driver.
I was.
Right?
Yeah.
And how does an angry truck driver look like, first of all? Somebody cuts you off, and what's your reaction?
A lot of F-bombs, a lot of horning.
Well, verbal is fine.
Yeah. Like my horn is on these two hands like it used to be, right? So being a local driver, it was very much so rushed, right? Everything's on time. Everything is like now. Construction, dude, hurry up and wait. That's the motto for all truckers. Hurry up and wait, because you get there and you're like, what? I was blah blah blah. I had to be here. But yeah, so cutting you off, like
if you were overreacting, let's say somebody cuts you off, and there is no such thing as overreacting. But for that person who's driving that car, be thinking that, this person is just overreacting. And the second thing he would say, this guy is probably on something, right? That's another thing they would say. Yeah. And no, but I mean, it's not overreacting, but I mean, like, and then you said over time, you sort of slow down.
Yeah.
How did you practice this art?
Car hauling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, man, I've seen myself get construction guys to stop traffic fully to get Union Station built downtown Toronto. And you had to back up off the road into the construction site, like almost a kilometer. And I had to do this religiously every day, different type of machines and whatever. There comes a point where you're just fed up with the people flipping you off, man. They're honking. They're coming around you like you're trying to blindside a trailer with a 40,000-pound machine. And like they're literally touching your bumper as they're getting by. So that's like, you have one bad day, one bad sleep, a bad argument with your friend or whatever. And of course, you got your headset on and whatever the case may be that's being fed into you while this circumstance is happening, you flip out. Like there's no more faith in humanity, right? How is that reconciled, you ask? You just like that was internal transformation for me. Like what is anger serving me? Right? It's not serving me, man. So slow down. Like, and now I don't see an incident as being an accident. I see it as being completely avoidable. And it's what you do and what you don't do. Right. So if there's I watch all the fails as much as, as anyone else. There's always what they're not doing. And that's paying attention, being diligent, having their speed perceptions or whatever. So I found myself just pulling the reins on everything, on my thoughts, on my reactions, because those are the only choices we have is our reactions and how we feel, right? So choose wisely, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I slowed down. But also, I had a great support system now. Like now at that point, like since I've been with my wife, she's changed me. She's the one who believed in me first when nobody else had, right? Otherwise, I didn't care about anyone else. So that was a change on its own, right?
So before, when you were driving, of course, it's very stressful. How did you manage stress?
Medicating. Yeah, illicitly. Yeah.
Explain that to me.
So okay, so me and marijuana had the longest going relationship up until I met my wife and everything started changing. But I started medicating.
So medicating, you're referring to marijuana?
Yeah.
Right.
For now. I at 14 years old, I was constantly roaming the streets. The household was very noisy. I couldn't do my homework or whatever. I started smoking weed. And a good friend of mine, he's still a very good buddy of mine today, business partner, everything. He was like, yo, dude, you need to chill. This is what's going to help you chill. Whatever, right? I'm 14. I had the longest running relationship with marijuana up until like 2018. So, but I did that constantly. I smoked weed in the trucks, in the local, whether on the highway, whatever. That was my thing, man. But that diminished as I went along. So by 2018, 2019 or whatever, completely, if it's around or whatever, I don't care. I might have a puff here and there. But one thing I don't like is the synthetics that's going around. And I absolutely started despising marijuana since it was legalized because the government took control. And I was also raised to believe whatever they say, do the opposite. Because it's just what it is, man. It's a trap. Yeah.
So truck drivers are they have this question to answer too. So synthetic stuff, you said. So they're known for doing different or many different types of drugs.
Yeah.
But marijuana is not even a drug in Canada anymore.
It's not a drug.
Yeah.
It's not even. No, sorry. It is a drug. It's not a medicine. It's not a medicine anymore. It's not. It didn't come from the ground where God created it to be from, right? Like now they're spraying it and whatever. And coincidentally, my wife and my mother-in-law were working for a huge distributor and producer of this stuff. And my mother-in-law is a 23-year botanical expert. And they hired her on to grow. She doesn't like weed. She never touched it. She just knows how to grow a good plant. And like she was expressing how everything goes into this. Got chemicals into the soil, chemicals in the air, chemicals in the ventilation system to keep everything. It's not weed that you're smoking. Now I see like old school guys, personal experiences, been smoking since their teenage years. Now all of a sudden suffering from anxiety, suffering from depression, suffering from all this.
Even after smoking?
Yeah, they started smoking the legal shit.
But it's not, you're saying it's not the product what it used to be.
It's not the product it used to be. Yeah. It's supposed to, like, in moderation, of course, it has very many benefits. But this stuff you're buying now at the corner store where the kids can get it and everything, no.
You know,
We-
is drugs a big problem in trucking? Not speaking of marijuana at this point.
I'm not speaking of marijuana too. Yeah,
It is a big
Yeah,
problem, even
huge.
today. You think?
absolutely, absolutely. And
And where-
I know from experience. I hit it. I hit it not only from my family. I hit it from the bosses. I hit it from myself. I was way too prideful, but I ended up having a problem. Especially because of that congruent demise I was going through from 2018 and whatever. Like I turned to illicit drugs. And I hit it. I crossed borders. I got searched, and you know what? I got off, man. And like, how else other than I can't call it luck? Like somebody was watching out for me. Absolutely. But I don't like doing anything that takes me away from my own capabilities of being in control.
At this point,
Any point.
even before,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
now, but I want to take not specifically about you, but overall. Trucks and drugs. These are the things I want to, because you said you did have some exposure, right?
Yep.
Why, if not, I'm not saying all truck drivers, but if truck
No.
drivers get into this, like, what is the connection here? Why is it the stress that they go through as a driver? Like, is it a culture? Is it what is this?
Yeah.
What is this in your understanding?
I would say, I can't speak for anyone else,
Mhm.
but there's a long standing reputation in my family for drug use, drug sales, alcohol use, alcohol sales, alcohol abuse, violence, and whatever. So I can't identify with that completely. However, I was not taught how to manage emotions or stress or communication. That was all taught by me and my close circles. So naturally, the escape is what probably most of us was looking for, escape the reality. I spent all my time in those trucks, all my time. That's all I did. So whether I was smoking a joint and then calling it quits and doing something else after, because I was doing car shows coast to coast, partying, like it was the nightlife and whatever. And I do not have a addictive personality, and I still got caught up. So if anyone is dabbling on a 36-hour reset and it's reoccurring, they're going to get caught up, especially if you don't know yourself or how strong you are, man. So I can see at any given point the stress you're trying to run away from in the industry, and that's your go-to. Boom, the enemy's got you, man. So like, I can associate it with that because I lived it, and the only thing I wanted to get away from was it itself.
Mhm.
And that's the hustle, the grind. I was always chasing that extra load, chasing that mile, especially after buying that first truck and the second truck. It's like, you're always focused on that bottom dollar, right? Because one month you'll make $60,000, the next month you'll make 30. So you got to compensate for that. Now, there's absolute assurity that in your lowest month, that's the biggest breakdown that's going to happen. It just always happens that way.
Is there drugs on truck stops?
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Now there's lot lizards. They're all over the South, man. So whether or not they come with some accessories, I wouldn't doubt it, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah.
I always went to my trustworthy sources.
Local?
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Locally grown, man. Yeah.
So what advice do you have for truck drivers that are suffering through this right now?
Well, I created my company all the way around this. So in 2016, I became a certified life coach, and then I decided to buy a truck because even at that 10 years ago, coaching was just starting. What I would like, and me personally, this is why I created my business, is because us guys that are going through it or that have been through it, they don't need to go through it alone anymore. And I find trucking has given me the best opportunity to be isolated and unheard. And so that's, I created a community and a platform that designates a place to stop running from.
Mhm. What is this called?
It's called Daditude Power Sports.
And then what kind of services you provide?
So right now it's like a podcasting environment such as this. We do video logs, and then I've created a course as well, just to get further more educated in personal alignment, rewriting your past, rewriting your structure.
Mhm.
You know,
Do you think this is the way going forward to get people on the right track?
well, I mean, you can't convince somebody of change if they can't identify it themselves, right? So, like I said, most people live till they're 25 and die at 70. And that means that they've created their structure and they just live by what they know and never expand their knowledge from that point forward. So, I was blessed enough to want to engage in more growth. Now, I've just always been addicted to knowing more, doing more, and like the industry gave me that opportunity. I was able to run machinery, run cars, see all of North America and get
Mhm.
paid for it. I seen car shows. I seen everything
Well,
that
that's the positive
yeah,
of
absolutely
it.
positive.
So, why? What is your opinion on trucking companies? Do trucking companies take care of well-being of their truck drivers?
So yeah, going back to my second truck, the first truck I had it finally paying me well, right? And so this was a year and a half in, something like that. And was just going into my first actual summer. And the company I was working for, like I was saying, God fearing guy, really, really grounded, had a great vision for where he wanted to go. Really big company now. He was helping out. He was helping everyone out.
How big was this company?
At the time, I was truck number 16. At this moment, they're well over 100 trucks now.
So it was growing at the time.
It's growing at the
Now,
time.
you're kind of thinking that it was a very positive, good company to work for?
It absolutely was.
No, but my question is, what kind of things they did that made you think that this company takes care of their drivers? Well, a lot of companies do take care of their equipment,
Mhm.
but they don't. They use drivers like a napkin.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been through those.
Correct, and it wasn't this company.
No.
So, what kind of
Well-
things they did?
Okay, so my experience, we were busy. We all had bills and whatever. So me being the happy, like, haha guy, when I voiced myself saying, like, hey, I'm getting married, I made my wife some promises, I want to get off the road, they took it like a joke.
Mhm.
And I laughed it off and whatever. And I walked away and I'm like, no, I'm freaking serious, And so I would try to orchestrate my departure in the back end without having to say anything. But then our lovely events of 2020 and whatever 21, my marriage was pushed back. I couldn't, all that stuff. So it was always reactive. That's the problem with the industry. It's being at the mercy of the loads, being at the mercy of the governments, the laws, the borders, the downtime. You're always just reacting. You're not proactive. So now, if you see that in a company standpoint or even a driver standpoint, like where can you identify the actual roots of the cause, right? So the company itself, I have nothing bad to say about it. What I do have something to say bad about is how I left. Sometimes you got to burn a bridge just to guarantee you don't even want to cross it anymore.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. I reconciled with the owner because that's what it was. It was so small. Like you could just call up the owner. The owner was taking care of everything. So he was helping many drivers. The one thing, going back to what I think I dislike, is that once I became useless to them, I was nothing. So a month before my wedding, they were all invited at my wedding. Only one came. So I took that like, you're not making me money. I'm not supporting you. I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks, man.
So now you're getting married, and they do understand that you're not going to be as useful as you were before.
I was just out.
So you're not friend to them anymore. You're not
just the one guy.
Yeah.
But the owners, whatever, I had daily communication with everyone. Like
But it is true.
close.
Then truck drivers are just money to the companies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad to say, but like here's one thing I always say. Do not create a company with a friend, but create friendships through companies. And even then, like, don't take your best friend along for a business ride, because like chances are it's gonna ruin your friendship. And then it says, but you can create friendships through business. And even that I tried and it failed.
Mhm.
Right? Because at the end of the day, that corporation, that business, that's all they want. And I like that's small, that's a small little demographic, but look at Canada. Canada's a corporation, man. They're doing the same thing. It's all about that mighty dollar.
Mhm.
All about the process, the economics, and everything like that.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that, right?
Where did this mighty love for Mighty Dollar came from?
Man,
Was it so in your lifetime?
in my lifetime? Well,
Was it always there?
always, always. Like I come from, my father's a baby of 15, and he's 73, right? So like the industrial era, capitalist society, the baby boomers, like they were just from my father's stories growing up, like milking cows and doing that at like 6 years old, and just out of the house by 15, and doing, mining by 18, trucking by, I think it was mining at 16, or like trucking by 18, 19. Like it was just like that, right? And so growing up with nothing on the farm, that's all he knew what to do, is like just, calculate the money, and then the rest,
you're not trucking
is
anymore.
second.
You're not trucking anymore, right?
I'm not, no.
So has your life gotten better or worse?
Financially?
Both ways, financially.
So
and
like
personally.
my best gross year was 585,000. Ask me if that was what made me happy that year.
Hang on, was it in trucking or without trucking?
It was in trucking.
Right.
Yeah. And I was not happy.
You were not. So what was your happiest year?
Now, actually. Yeah.
So you don't make as much you did in that year?
No, but that's gross, right? Like I'm saying, like what the government sees, and then what you claim is different, of course.
Correct.
Yeah, good bookie. Yeah.
So what makes you happy then?
What makes me happy? My family. I get to see my boys every single morning and night. That's what makes me happy, and my beautiful wife, of course, and what I'm creating. Right? I get to help the next man to prevent the suffering. I get to assist somebody to see what he could possibly be suffering from, or what he could actually alleviate from. So
I think the biggest problems are in trucking, when one, truck drivers don't confess, and secondly, they don't seek help.
That's right.
Because they are in denial. There's a problem going on. But then people around them, so the dispatcher, the company owners, the safety departments, the people in the shop, they did know that. I've heard them talk about this. Oh, this guy's ha ha ha. This guy is doing this ha ha ha. But nobody actually tries to take them away, and be like, hey, buddy, I think this is what's happening with you. Maybe you need to consult with somebody.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is? Why do people not confess? And it's not, I'm not speaking just men. I'm speaking
in general.
There's a lot of women in trucking too, right?
Yeah. Okay. So if we're going to look at it that way, everything relies on your license. So now, even with a little bit of vulnerability or proof that you're caught up, anxious, depressed, addicted, whatever, they're all going to aim it at your license. Are you too fit to drive? Well, shit, I need my paycheck. So that's the right away. And then second, for me primarily, pride. Nobody knew I had a problem, man. Nobody knew. Oh yeah, you can talk to your buddy and be like, yo, man, that shit just cost me 48,000. Like, it's just money. You'll make it tomorrow. Yeah, okay. But I'm a little tired. Like, I'm a little tired, right? So I just spent my last 200 on that baggie. That baggie is going to make me feel much better than how this company's making me feel, or how that next trip is, or a $19,000 fuel bill on a $23,000 run. Like, not to mention or forgetting that whatever you're carrying will lead you to the direction you might not want, but that's just what you chose, right? So,
sorry, finish your thought.
Yeah. So like the actual structure, benefit packages offer these assistances, but once again, you're going to be assessed. Are you able to drive? And those were my biggest worries, right? And then random P tests, they don't work. I passed them all. You know what I mean? So how do we do that?
So you're saying I did drugs, but I still passed them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not a real thing? I've done it.
It's a real thing. You just got to know your body and how to protect yourself. Absolutely. Really? Yeah, man. Yeah. And so like, Now, I'm going to go back to what I created. I created a full B2B pilot program. It's in pilot right now because I'm going after my founding members to actually, dedicate some time to it and see how effective it is and whatnot. But this is specifically for companies, specifically in transportation, that actually want to have a progressive employment structure, right? And a driver structure and whatever. So that's what I'm aiming to do, is to allow those men to come in secrecy and actually resolve the actual issues and get to the root of the cause and not be in demise by the company or their processes, right? So by me going directly to HR or whoever else, the presidents, depending on how big the company is, we can actually create a structure that'll help the broken men, right? So, but that's mainly, to answer your question, mainly, once again, it's always about the license. The commercial license, they don't play. They don't play, right? So if you're not 100% effective, 100% assured of yourself, you're not driving.
Give me a list of things that a truck driver can do to make their mental health and physical health better.
Physical health, take a walk every time you shut that truck off. And I'm not the healthiest guy. Like when I got married, I was 274 pounds. I lost 45 pounds within the first year of being away from the truck. And that was all mental. I was cleansing, I was walking, but I wasn't stressed out. And cortisol is the number one person killer, body killer, health killer. That's stress, man.
And what about mental health?
Mental health, go within. It's funny because that like 1-800 Bell Talk, I called one of them lines before. I felt so gross. I felt judged and whatever. And that's not because of the person on the other line. It's because of not knowing how to open up. That's another space that I'm allowing for my followers. But the mental health is go within. Is we have so much noise these days, so many distractions, so much doom scrolling, so much avoidance to actually listening to ourselves, man. People are scared of silence, scared of that darkness. And what I've learned along the way is when you are in darkness, you're not buried, you're being planted, so make good, proper decisions from there. So if your audience wants to know, I have a book that I've written, DaditudePowersports.com. You go down in the About Us section, there's the playbook there, download it, it's absolutely free. Those are the 20 steps that I've created with my creator on how to actually get to know yourself and get to the root of the problem.
Are you religious?
I am not.
You're not?
Religion was man-made, but I follow the Bible. I follow Christ, Yeah, like, it's been said that churches are built with bricks and hands, but the word wasn't, the word is forever. So,
but truck drivers are, in majority cases, they're very religious.
Yeah.
Not
I don't believe
about you. No, but I mean,
let's
so this is a topic I haven't touched upon because I'm always afraid somebody's gonna say something that's gonna hurt That's gonna hurt other people. So I've been
holding back the entire interview.
Yeah, was that?
I've been holding back the entire interview.
No, but the reason. But you understand my fear. My fear is you'd say something, not you,
Bill
but overall.
C9, scrap it. Like how can we not express ourselves?
I know, but express
don't
yourself,
push it.
But don't be disrespectful to others, right? That's
exactly.
Yeah. So let's touch upon this since you seem to be very knowledgeable in this and how to be respectful to others.
Yes.
So tell me about that prayer at the truck stops in the morning on the TV radio.
Yeah, you know what? I never tuned into it because I find it way too preachy. And so when I said right from the beginning, the one rule that I was taught, and that's by just reading and having discernment, is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first. So those are just words, right? But it's inside. It's just going inside and hearing. Everybody has conviction and condemnation. Conviction, it feels good. It guides you softly. Everybody has those voices in their head, right? Like Romans 8:7 says, the carnal mind is enmity against God. Carnal mind is the conscious. You know, and that's what runs our day. That's what we're in beta state. We're reactive. We just go with the flow. And the flow is just so prominent now. You don't even know how to differentiate your actual decisions, your own self. You're like, you just, oh, that person says, oh, go there. That next trend, go there, right? So like, how do you really find that?
Yeah.
You know?
So this is my understanding. Whether you are a Christian,
Yeah.
a Sikh, a Hindu, a Muslim, does not matter which religion you come from. People, the minute they step in their truck, do a little prayer. I've rarely seen a person who doesn't do a prayer.
Yeah.
And the reason they do a prayer is because the kind of things they see on the road and the situations they feel.
Yeah.
And then I know this, that if people get out of a situation safely, they credit the God. So it's because, you know, sometimes it's beyond your capacity to do, you know, that safe maneuver to save somebody, right? But, you know, I want to thank you for being here. It's been an awesome show, and I was able to touch upon many of the topics that I haven't touched upon yet out of my fear, because a lot of the people that I get here are not media trained, right? So it becomes a challenge for me to not touch upon those topics. So because at the end of the day, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? We all come from, especially in Canada, we got a very diverse group of people watching the show, and, you know, like, we are a very diverse society. Yeah. So once again, thank you so much.
Can I add something?
Please do so.
The only thing, it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter about religion or anything like that. We're all brothers, and there's good and evil, and there's love and hate. It's just a simple choice. So if we can all just learn to love, have more patience, and have more concern for our guys on the road, and that prayer is not a recited kind of, you know, religious thing. It's just talking to yourself. Talk to the one who created you. That's it. And just share some love, man, and be grateful. Absolutely. Right? I'm very grateful for you inviting me here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for watching the show, and please do subscribe our channel. As we have been saying, write us an email at info@thetruckstopshow.ca. Communicate with us. Tell us what you want to see, what you like, and what you dislike. But what you dislike, be respectful about it. Now, you can be whatever you want. So see you guys next Sunday. If you are one of those truck drivers who is willing to say what they feel and see on the road or anywhere in the trade, please do contact us at info@thetruckstopshow.ca. Write us your phone number, and we'll get in touch and bring you on the show.